Albert Fish, infamously known as the Grey Man, remains one of the most horrifying figures in criminal history. His crimes, which included child molestation, cannibalism, and sadomasochism, have left a chilling legacy. Fish's life was a blend of outward normalcy and hidden monstrosity, making his story both terrifying and perplexing. His notoriety stems not only from his gruesome acts, but also from the macabre fascination that surrounds them. The following sections will delve deeper into his background, his heinous acts, and the profound effect he had on public consciousness. Albert Fish was born on May 19, 1870 in Washington, D.C., into a family plagued by mental illness. His father, a riverboat captain, was 75 years old at the time of Fish's birth, and his mother struggled to care for him. Fish's early life was marred by neglect and hardship, factors that likely contributed to his later criminal behavior. At a young age, he was sent to an orphanage where he experienced severe abuse. The abuse Fish endured at the orphanage had a profound impact on his psyche. It was there that he began to associate pain with pleasure, a connection that would define his later actions. Despite these early signs of disturbance, Fish managed to maintain a facade of normalcy. He moved to New York City in 1890, where he began his descent into criminality, starting with petty theft and escalating to more serious crimes. Fish's early experiences with pain and neglect set the stage for his later crimes. Albert Fish was a master of deception. He appeared to be a normal, even likable, elderly man. His unassuming appearance and polite demeanor allowed him to blend seamlessly into his community. Fish worked various jobs, including as a house painter, and was known to be a doting father and grandfather. This mask of normalcy was vital to his ability to evade suspicion and continue his heinous activities. Fish's ability to appear harmless was a key factor in his criminal success. He preyed on the trust of those around him, often targeting families who saw him as a kind and gentle figure. Albert Fish's criminal activities were marked by an escalating pattern of violence and depravity. He began with minor offenses, but soon moved on to more serious and disturbing crimes. His primary targets were young children, whom he would abduct, torture, and often kill. Fish's methods were particularly gruesome, involving acts of sadomasochism and cannibalism that shocked even the most seasoned investigators. Fish's sadomasochistic tendencies were a significant aspect of his criminal behavior. He derived pleasure from inflicting pain on himself and others, a trait that was evident in the way he tortured his victims. Fish would often use implements such as needles and knives, inflicting severe pain before ultimately killing his victims. His actions were not merely criminal, but deeply sadistic, reflecting a profound psychological disturbance. Section 5, the Grace Budd case, a tragic encounter. The case of Grace Budd is perhaps the most infamous of Albert Fish's many crimes. It began on May 28, 1928, when Fish visited the Budd family in New York City. He posed as Mr. Frank Howard, a farmer looking to hire workers. Fish's real intention, however, was far more sinister. He initially targeted Grace's older brother, Edward, but his plans changed upon meeting the young girl. On the pretext of taking Grace to a birthday party, Fish lured the 10-year-old away from her home. The Budd family, trusting the kindly old man, allowed Grace to go with him. It was a decision they would come to regret for the rest of their lives. Fish took Grace to an abandoned house, where he committed unspeakable acts of torture and murder. Section 6. The infamous letter breakthrough in the investigation. The letter Albert Fish sent to the Budd family remains one of the most chilling documents in criminal history. Dated November 1934, it was addressed to Grace Budd's mother, Delia Budd. The contents of the letter detailed the horrific fate of Grace, describing how Fish had abducted, tortured, and cannibalized her. The letter was written in a calm and matter-of-fact tone, which made its contents even more disturbing. Fish's letter provided crucial clues that ultimately led to his capture. The envelope bore a small but significant detail. a logo from the New York Private Chauffeurs Benevolent Association. This clue allowed investigators to trace the letter back to the rooming house where Fish had been staying. Section 7. Arrest and trial justice for the victims. Albert Fish was arrested on December 13, 1934, following the breakthrough provided by the infamous letter. Detectives led by William F. King traced Fish to a rooming house in Manhattan where they apprehended him without incident. Fish initially denied his involvement in Grace Budd's disappearance, but he soon confessed to her murder and other crimes. His detailed confessions left no doubt about his guilt. The trial of Albert Fish began on March 11, 1935, and it quickly became a media sensation. Fish's defense team attempted to argue that he was insane and therefore not responsible for his actions. Despite the defense's efforts, the jury was not swayed. They found Fish guilty of first-degree murder on March 22, 1935. The judge sentenced him to death, a decision that was widely supported by the public. Section 8. Execution. The end of Albert Fish. Albert Fish's execution was carried out at Sing Sing Correctional Facility on January 16, 1936. His final days were marked by a disturbing calmness, as he showed no remorse for his actions. Fish spent his last moments writing letters, some of which contained chilling details about his crimes. The execution itself was a highly publicized event, with the press covering every detail. Fish was led to the electric chair known as Old Sparky and strapped in. At 11:06 p.m. the switch was flipped and Albert Fish was executed. His death marked the end of one of the most terrifying criminal careers in history. Section 9. Impact on society, fear and awareness. The horrifying crimes of Albert Fish had a profound impact on society, fostering a heightened sense of fear and awareness. His ability to blend into society while committing such atrocious acts led to increased vigilance among parents and communities. The case underscored the importance of being cautious about whom to trust, particularly when it came to the safety of children. Fish's actions served as a grim reminder of the potential dangers lurking behind seemingly benign faces. Fish's crimes also had a significant impact on law enforcement practices. The investigation into his activities highlighted the need for more sophisticated methods in tracking and capturing criminals. The use of forensic evidence, such as the letter that led to Fish's capture, became increasingly important in solving cases. Section 10. Conclusion. The legacy of the Grey Man. Albert Fish, the Grey Man, remains one of the most disturbing figures in criminal history. His life and crimes reveal a terrifying capacity for evil, hidden behind a mask of normalcy. Fish's ability to blend into society while committing such horrific acts has left a lasting impact, serving as a grim reminder of the potential for darkness within the human soul. The case of Grace Budd and the infamous letter Fish sent to her family were pivotal in bringing him to justice. Fish's trial and execution brought some measure of closure to his victims' families, though the trauma of his actions continues to resonate. Fish's story is a reminder of the need for constant vigilance and the continual improvement of our ability to detect and prevent such monstrous acts. The story of Albert Fish is a dark chapter in criminal history, but one that offers valuable lessons for the future.